Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Everyone has their Bhagavad-Gita? Yes? Good. So we're reading Bhagavad-Gita as it is. Chapter 2, text 22, contents of the Gita summarized. Vāsāṁsi jīrṇāni yathā vihāya. Navāni gṛhṇāti naro parāṇi. Tathā śarīrāṇi vihāya jīrṇāni. Anyāni saṁyāti navāni dehī. Vāsāṁsi jīrṇāni yathā vihāya. Navāni gṛhṇāti naro parāṇi. Tathā śarīrāṇi vihāya jirṇāni. Anyāni saṁyāti navāni dehī. Vāsāṁsi jīrṇāni yathā vihāya. Navāni gṛhṇāti naro parāṇi. Tathā śarīrāṇi vihāya jirṇāni. Anyāni saṁyāti navāni dehī. Vāsāṁsi, garments. Jīrṇāni, old and worn out. Yathā, just as. Vihāya, giving up. Navāni, new garments. gṛhṇāti, does accept. naraḥ, a man. aparāṇi, others. tathā, in the same way. śarīrāṇi, bodies. vihāya, giving up. jīrṇāni, old and useless. anyāni, different. saṁyāti, verily accepts. navāni, new sets. dehī, the embodied. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Responsively, as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Change of body by the atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even the modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of the body which appear from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to youth, and again from youth to old age. From old age, the change is transferred to another body. This has already been explained in the previous verse, 2:13. Transference of the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the Supersoul. The Supersoul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul as one friend fulfills the desire of another. The Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad, as well as the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, compare the soul and the Supersoul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other bird, Krishna, is simply watching his friend. Of these two birds, although they are the same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird, and Arjuna is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is still the master, and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another, or from one body to another. The jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body, but as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as the supreme spiritual master, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntary surrender unto Krishna for instruction, the subordinate bird immediately becomes free from all lamentations. Both the Mundaka Upanishad and the Shvetashvatara Upanishad confirm this. Samane vrikshe purusho nimagno nishiya shochati muyamanaham jushtang yada pashyat yanyam isham asya mahinanim iti vita shokaha. Although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. But if in some way or other he turns his face to his friend the bird and knows his glories, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad-Gita from him. And thus, hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies in the righteous fight, so they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or in the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there was no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistang Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namaum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshitarane. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So Srila Prabhupada is giving us guidance to understand how the spirit soul is changing from one body to another body, because people are getting their knowledge from books written by scientists, philosophers, PhDs, master's degrees, but they have problems. They have imperfect senses, they have a tendency to be illusioned, they're sure to commit mistakes, and they have a cheating propensity. So although one may be proud of his own learning, that I'm a world traveler, my God-gifted intelligence and brilliance is guiding me, people have no clue as to the purpose and goal of life. The leaders of society are enhancing the bodily platform of life. Be proud Americans, be proud Indians, be proud Russians. You're Shudra, no, you're Brahmin. He's a sannyasi. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all 8 designations, I'm not a Shudra, I'm not a, I'll start with Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Not a Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, or a Sannyasi. Brahman, excuse me. So although society works that way, the head is giving guidance, the hand are protecting, the legs are carrying, the body is you're always feeding the hungry stomach, the tongue is making sure of that. So we're doing the responsibility. So people are basically looking for happiness in this world. And they think real happiness is if I get a lot of money, and I'll get a lot of money by working really hard. Karma Mimamsa philosophy, that if I work really hard, then the natural reciprocation is that I'll be wealthy. But we've seen that although one may accumulate good money, and temporarily it appears that he's happy in his mansion with his lovely friends and relatives, sons and daughters, beautiful husband, beautiful wife, whatever the case may be, in a wonderful country, feels very safe and protected. But Krishna comes, Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham, in the form of death, and takes everything, your bank balance, your nice Rolls Royce, finished and gone, no more fancy car, your jet plane, and all your savings, and all your family, and your so-called values of people's appreciation of your hard work. It's all gone. It's all finished. And death can come at any time. And it's not that we're being pessimistic. We've seen our great-grandfathers have died, our fathers have died, and so many friends and relatives are dying. Every day we're seeing, let us all pray together, chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, for their safe journey. Yang vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. Whatever state of being we remember at the time of death, that state will attain without fail. So how do we cultivate that state of mind? How do we actually come into proper understanding that I am not this body? Because we see when the tailor came and measured, you have arms, and then for the pants you have legs, and the jacket, it's a fit to fit the body. So although the bodies are changing, but human form of life is a replica of our spiritual body. And that spiritual body is basically covered over by the material modes of nature. We have a pure existence, a godly existence in the spiritual world. We have a relationship with Krishna. Don't get fooled, because Prabhupada, throughout the Vedic literature, and Veda means knowledge, this knowledge is given by God Himself. Mamayavangso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manaksistani anyāni prakritistani karshati. That we're all part of Krishna, little parts. Krishna's full of bliss, full of eternity, full of knowledge. We have that same eternality, knowledge and bliss. But the eternal soul is covered over by the material body driven by desire, driven by hankering and lamenting. We're hankering so much for that position. I work hard, I want to become the president of the United States. You promise all the people, I'll give you so much and reduce the taxes and make sure everything is very nice. All the supplies will be available at your fingertips. But instead of serving so many bad masters, we should awaken our service attitude to Krishna, Jivara Swarupoi Krishna Nityadas. Because Krishna is our real master. Krishna is in our heart. It's not just some theoretical analogy that even modern science recognizes that the source of energy comes from the heart. It's being pumped. Your heart's pumping this blood, this consciousness. The proof of life is consciousness. When the consciousness is missing from the body, what is it? It's a dead body. Nobody cares for the dead body. Just pick it up. The other day I saw a dog dead, and people, just get rid of it. Dead body is terrible. Yeah, just burn it, something. So this dead body is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. In different planets, different bodies. Sun planet, there's fiery bodies. Some planets are watery bodies. This is mainly earth, so we have earthly bodies. We can see, we can touch, we can feel. All these facilities are given to us by a higher source. We don't know. How is it we can see? Who's created the eyeball and the nerves, and who's given that eardrum so you can hear the kirtan, or what to speak of giving you teeth so you can eat, nourish the body, smell, and walk here and there, and do so many things with this gift from Mother Nature, which Krishna is arranging. Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasyaha. That Mother Nature, this person wants this kind of body. How do you know? Yang vapi smaram bhavam. He cultivated his consciousness in such a way, he has a certain amount of desires. You're carrying with us a certain bank account in the form of karmana, daiva, nitrena. When you go to the dress shop and you want to get that really, really high quality, good looking dress, but you don't have enough money, you have to buy a third class dress. That's all you can afford. So sometimes we have lots of money accumulated due to our pious activities, that we performed some good activities, knowingly or unknowingly, visited the holy place of Sri Vrindavan Dham, maybe assisted or gave some charity to a nice Vaishnava. So you've accumulated some punya, good credit, agyata sukriti. Unknowingly you're making, your bank balance is adding up somehow or other. But if we're making offenses due to jealousy or envy and creating disturbance, seeing people on the bodily platform, not seeing their spiritual, eternal nature also as servants of Krishna. Krishna says that I am the father of everyone, not only human beings, animals, plants, trees. So it's unavoidable to perform sins in this world, so one balances off the other. You're performing good activities, opening hospitals, charitable institutions, helping the poor. You want to be kind and generous and philanthropically minded. You want to be the good person. So these are good credits, good karma, bad karma. But we don't want any of that, because when we give up these old clothes, we don't want to pick up a new set of clothes to put on because the old ones are all worn out. We can see how they get worn out, isn't it? You get knee replacements, you get false teeth, you get hearing aids, you need glasses, they get thicker and thicker as you get older, So everything starts falling apart. And then you see, oh, this ripped and that's ripped. I got to get rid of this cord, that's useless, get another one. So the material body is like that. It's our dress. And we're utilizing the bodily dress in all the senses to try to become happy with, hankering for, and then lamenting for losses. Just like when the stock market crashed, all the wealthy people, all their hard-earned money that they've strived for their whole lives, worked really hard, went out the window, and so they went out the window after their money. A lot of people committed suicide. They just jumped off the building to forget about life because, I mean, I have no money. What good is my life? You know, because everything is based on sense gratification. They think that we have to keep gratifying the senses, and the basic gratification is sex life, meat eating, intoxication. Prabhupada says ants like love intoxication. They're always looking for some sugar. If you take sugar and distill it and put a little acid and purify it, you get liquor. You know, it's very intoxicating. So these things are natural. Prabhupada says if a young boy meets a young girl, they're naturally inclined towards one another. It's not that you need Freud philosophy and or big philosophical books and discussions on how to enjoy in this life. But that kind of enjoyment is temporary enjoyment. And in the scripture, there's description that if we follow according to the standards of the rules and regulations of scriptures, gradually we'll lose a taste. Parang drishtva nivartate. We'll get a higher taste. Although we may not be experiencing immediately the higher taste, but Krishna, He's watching, He's sitting in our heart as two birds on a tree. One bird is pecking at the fruit and trying to enjoy, and the other bird is just allowing it. So you think, well, why does Krishna allow us to get ourselves entangled in such a big mess in this material world? Because we are very stubborn. Just like a servant, he may be serving a master very nicely, but then he might think, well, what if I was a master? You know, sometimes the master is not at home. He might sit in his chair and put his feet up on the desk and think, yeah, this is the good life, you know. But this is a bit of a crippled mentality that we want to imitate the Supreme. But Krishna, it's not like He's is the only enjoyer, because if someone is a good, nice servant of a king in a friendly, loving relationship, naturally he's on the highest position. So to become a devotee, a Vaishnava, someone following Krishna's instructions, surrendering to Guru, surrendering to Krishna, and preaching the message of Krishna consciousness, Krishna is very happy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted that we take up this message of Krishna consciousness. He personally came, and what did he do? He took sannyas just so that people can make benefit by offering obeisances. And then he went throughout South India to all the towns and villages. Jare dako tare kaho Krishna upadesha maragai guru hoy tare desh. That we want to spread this Krishna conscious knowledge and philosophy. Krishna, Bhagavad-Gita, as it is, presents Krishna according to how Krishna is speaking. Although there's so many translations of Bhagavad-Gita and so many people who want, well, what about this yogi? What about Brahma? What about Lord Shiva? What about, you know, Swami such and such and this one and that one? There's so many philosophies. You know, how is it that yours is right and everything else is wrong? It's not ours. Krishna is speaking in the Vedas. Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad-Gita. But by letting Krishna speak and not interpreting man manabhava madbhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru mam evasisi satyante pratijane priyosime. Krishna said, think of me, become my devotee and worship me. Thus you'll come to me. But the great philosopher and book writer says, no, it's not to Krishna, it's to the impersonal oneness of Krishna within. Now where he gets to that idea, it's just people want to express their own ideas to more pretty much put the focus on themselves, that I am the translator, I am the writer of this book. But why use Krishna's book to promote yourself? Prabhupada never claimed to be God. Prabhupada always remained the humble servant of the Lord. carrying out the message of the Lord. But getting off the bodily platform is a difficult thing, because we're always trying to, especially in the preliminary teachings of spirituality, that aham brahmasmi, I am spirit, soul, jivara swarupa Krishna nichadas, I'm Krishna's eternal servant. Not like the demonic mentality, Ishvaroham, aham bogi, siddhaham balavan sukhi. I am perfect, I am powerful, I am happy. You know, like Hiranyakashipu, he wanted to become the controller of the whole universe. He had the demigods eating out of his hand. Everyone was fearful. And we may not understand Krishna's janma, karma, chime divyam. We don't know, oh, why does Krishna appear in so many demons, and why his parents have to suffer and people have to suffer and this and that. In the spiritual world, it's all wonderful and beautiful. There's unlimited living beings. In Goloka Vrindavan, it's massive. All the Vaikuntha Lokas are huge. Small little section is Mahatattva, where the Lord expands himself to facilitate those jivas who want to enjoy separately. It's only a small number of criminals. Like we have a few prison houses in the different governments, isn't it? You put the insane and the criminals and, you know, lock them up so that for their own safety and the safety of the public. So basically we're locked up in this material world in the camp of Durga, Maya, illusion, and then we're just let loose to try to enjoy this temporary covering, this coat and this shirt. If I say, who are you? I'm this brown sweater and striped kurta. No, you're not that brown sweater and striped kurta or white kurta or, you know, whatever. Just the extra, I'm not a black jacket. I'm a spirit soul. And that spirit soul is eternal. Najayate mriyate vakadachin. Nayang bhutva va nabuya ajonitya shastrato yang purano hanyate hanyamane śarīrāṇi. The soul can never be killed. It is ever existing. It's always existed along with Krishna. We were in the spiritual world. Prabhupada was not lamenting, but reminiscing, thinking of the times being with the cowherd boys, playing Krishna Balaram and all the cowherd boys in the groves of Vrindavan. And it's not simply some allegorical story just to attract us to become Krishna conscious. We'll see the reality. Also, the analogy is given that every day you're washing your shirt and coat, but if you're just washing your coat, washing your shirt, and you forget, and you're not eating or drinking, then you'll shrivel up and die. So if we're simply catering to the physical body and the needs of the mind and senses and the identification, my country, I'm going to die for my country, you know, that these people are attacking me and you know, the color of their skin's different than my skin, and they have nefarious or very bad intent, and I need to protect my country and my possessions and my family. Yes, to some degree we have to actually be responsible and take care of our duties and responsibilities, but this is not the all in all, that we have to use our energy and our time for hearing Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. And the more we hear from the self-realized soul, the more that confusion, that cloud which is covering our consciousness, that Maya, is cleaned. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahadevagni nirvapanam. So we have to clean our heart, and whatever position we find ourselves in, whether we're a young man or an old man, a young lady or an old lady, human life is rare, and only by human intelligence can one understand. Prabhupada's given the example that there are so many cows and bulls, 50, 100, and sometimes they're being directed to the slaughterhouses, and one child with a stick is controlling all of them. They don't have the intelligence to group together and use their horns and beat up on their so-called abuser. So we are being driven by the so-called leaders. It says one should not become a father, one should not become a mother, one should not become a guardian or a leader if he cannot direct his dependence to self-realization, freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Even Vasudeva Datta, he prayed to Lord Chaitanya. He says that, oh, all these poor conditioned souls, they're suffering in this material world. They're suffering birth and death, and if you feel that they have so much bad karma, you can deliver that karma on me, and I will suffer for them. But please liberate them all, because this is a Vaishnava. He's very compassionate, very loving. Titikshava karunika suhrida sarabdehinam. He's very tolerant, very peaceful, because he's taken shelter of Krishna. But he also feels compassion for all the conditioned souls who are suffering in this material world. But Lord Chaitanya gave the example of a bag full of mustard seeds. If you take one little seed out of the bag, what significance is there? It's very insignificant. Unlimited universes, millions, billions, trillions, unlimited living entities. So it's not that, okay, well, forget about it, there's too many people suffering, I'm just going to go back to Godhead on my own. That's not the analogy, but the idea is that by our surrender to Krishna and our endeavor to spread Krishna consciousness and help the conditioned souls get off the bodily platform, this misidentification with the body is the greatest diversion. You know, it's like the dogs, if you go into their neighborhood, they immediately start barking. I have my friendly little dog used to follow me to the temple every day. But then there's these two big dogs along the parikram path. When they see him coming, they chase him. So, and it's like, very territorial. So if you come into, where's your visa? How long are you staying for? Okay, get out. People think that this is in my airspace. You cannot fly over my airspace. This belongs to me. People are just like that, and they're feeling, due to bodily consciousness, that because I'm of this kind of nationality, that Cold War, the Russians against the Americans or the Indians against the Pakistanis. Prabhupada said before Pakistan was created, there was sometimes a few little troubles, but now there's whole nations against each other. So this enhancement of the bodily concept of life simply leads to more trouble, more degradation, and more suffering. But we can't get away from it. Mrityu Sava Haraschaham, that this material world is a place wherein repeated birth and death take place. So today we have this body, this is our dress. As soon as this body is finished, whether you get run over by the rickshaw outside or, fall into some huge ditch that's not marked, or just naturally you've lived your life of 80, 90, 100 years and the body just collapses and the soul moves on according to the karma and the desires, the mind. Desires don't stop. The mind, the ego, actually carries us to our next body. And we're thinking, well, I did something in Krishna consciousness, yeah. There's no loss or neha bikramo nashyosti pratyavaya navidyate swapamopyasya dharmasya trayate mahatovayat. In this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. A little advancement can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What is that dangerous type of fear? Repeated birth and death. Taking birth again in this material world and being again illusioned by my family, my nation, my body, and hankering for the achievement of what you think is the riches, the kingdom, the godly delights. Even if we go to the heavenly planets and you're enjoying in beautiful gardens with beautiful godly figures, nice aroma, and everything is very, very pleasant. But the bank account is emptying. Your karma is going, dwindling, dwindling. You may live for thousands of years, but again, even in the heavenly planets, the higher demigods are being envied by the lower demigods, and there's always battles. We hear about the battles of the gods and the demons. So it's not that in Brahmaloka I'll be safe, or Indra Loka I'll be fully ecstatic. Although the enjoyment is on a much, much higher level, but still the rich man dies, the poor man dies. When they're dead, it's all finished. The body is, no one knows it. Prabhupada gives the example during the Muslim and Hindu riots. The next day there was just dead bodies everywhere. They didn't know what was what. Just the municipality cleaners packed them up in the carts and sent them to get burnt. So that's our ultimate destination. Either we become, you put in a coffin, in a nice expensive coffin in the ground, and the insects and little bugs and worms eat your body, or you're burnt, or if you fall dead in some unknown place, vultures and other carnivorous animals will eat your body. But the body is just a composition of material elements. The doll maker makes some beautiful dolls in different sizes and shapes. But this particular doll-shaped body that we have has a gift of human intelligence. And that human intelligence, if it's utilized, when Arjuna gave all his good arguments, and then even though they were on friendly terms, Krishna as friends, he finally surrendered. And Krishna explained that you're lamenting for something which is not worthy of grief. For those who are wise, lament neither for the living nor for the dead. And it's not that you become inhuman or unsensitive as a spiritual personality, but you see with divine vision, because a spiritual master is one who's awakened his spiritual consciousness, sadhu, shastra, and guru. We're being guided by the authority of Krishna, because Krishna is the original guru. Lord Nityananda is the original guru, who's non-different than Krishna. Lord Balaram is non-different than Krishna. And these are our gurus who guide us. And we should not get too caught up on, my guru and your guru, because the guru is one who's representing, glorifying Krishna in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita. These are authorized, recognized literatures, so many wonderful books of acharyas. But be careful to stay focused, and especially hearing and chanting the Lord's holy name. Because the conclusion of all sacrifice, of all learning, reading philosophies and performing yagyas and pujas and different ceremonial activities meant for upliftment of our consciousness, is that we take shelter of Krishna's holy name. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangastar Parsha Jagnai Sankirtan Prayaya Jantihi Sumedasaha. This yagya, this sacrifice, in this age of Kali Yuga, is glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, and following in their footsteps by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada said if you come for the Mangal Arti and you're enthusiastically chanting, it's a sign that you're making advancement in Krishna consciousness. But if you're sleeping, only there because otherwise temple commander won't give you prasad or something, and you're feeling really morose in the corner, then it says you're not making much advancement in Krishna consciousness, you're too much enhanced on the bodily platform. But then, what is the solution? Take rest early. Get sufficient rest. Get up early. And enthusiastically participate in the devotional practices of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And perform your duties. It's not that Srila Prabhupada just simply translated Bhagavatam and gave lectures, and yes, he did all these things. He has own Shruti Kirti would say he'd sometimes sit down and sing bhajans, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur in a loving way, or be reading his own books. These are not my books. These are Krishna speaking. These are my spiritual ecstasies. Krishna is using him as instrument to convey message to all of us. Don't rot in this world. Don't waste your human life. Just because everyone else is wasting their life doesn't mean we have to waste our life. We think, oh, how is it that so many billions of people are not Krishna conscious and they're all pursuing happiness by having a nice home and nice family and, you know, nice car, anything that money can buy. This is the goal of life. The Charvaka Muni's philosophy: beg, borrow, or steal, whatever it may be. Get some money, because you gotta eat good. Get some ghee, if accounts allows it. You gotta have ghee. You know, eat nicely and get all the different comforts of life, because when you're dead, you're finished. And Prabhupada remarks that I visited Professor Kotovsky in Russia, Moscow, and he said, Swamiji, when the body is finished, it's all just, when you're dead, you're dead. So this is the conclusion of the professor of philosophy in a so-called modern civilization. They haven't the clue of the eternality of the soul, or how to awaken that, how to fan that spark, how to make it blaze, because that's what conditioned life means, that we've fallen out of the spark, the fire, the big fire. We're just like lying on the side with a little tiny glow maybe. But how to fan that spark so it blazes again. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. This is what Prabhupada came to give us, that opportunity that we ourselves become Krishna conscious and deliver the message to others. Not everyone's going to accept it, because this is Maya's kingdom. It's a place where people don't want to know about Krishna. They want to forget about Krishna. Surrender to Krishna? No. You know, okay, you've seen the darshan. Let's go here. Let's go there. You know, it's like amusement park. This material world. People want to go from one amusement to another, and before they know it, they get old, they get diseased, they get shriveled, and they die. And then Krishna comes to take everything away, and there's nothing left except our karma, which is going to drive us to our next body. So we do it all over again, whether it's a godly body or a hellish body. There's the repetition of birth and death, from the highest planet down to the lowest planet. Oh, what to do then? Get out of the material world. Get out by chanting the Lord's name, and get out by hearing from Srila Prabhupada. Because Srila Prabhupada, you know, he obviously was empowered. The sacrifice that Prabhupada made to satisfy his Guru Maharaj, the faith he had in this Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavatam, and Bhagavad-Gita, and the way he enthused and inspired anyone who showed a little bit of interest in Krishna consciousness. He knew how to fan that and how to engage them, just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati engaged Srila Prabhupada from the very first meeting. You go to the Western world, you preach Krishna consciousness. You know, you're an educated young man, speak English. Go, spread this message of God consciousness. Lord Chaitanya sent Lord Nityananda and Haridas and so many others to different parts of to Bengal and Bangladesh and different places for preaching purposes. So all of us, many of us, we were out in the airports and the ship ports, store to store, city to city, traveling Sankirtan, book distribution, preaching work. And by doing this pioneering work of preaching Krishna consciousness, and even though our comfort zone may have been, we may not have felt fully comfortable to be out and approaching people. Oh, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to try to get in any kind of controversy. No, confidently and very enthusiastically and proudly, And that way you can have pride that I'm proud to be a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I'm proud to be part of the Krishna consciousness movement. I'm proud to give you Bhagavad-Gita, which will answer all the questions to all of life's problems. Oh, is it? Yes. Read it. Follow it. Stay in the association of those who are living that lifestyle of Bhagavad-Gita. Then the essence, beyond just a philosophical word jugglery, the practical application is that you're living in the holy Dham, you're associating with sadhus, you're worshipping Tulsi Devi, you're hearing Bhagavatam, you're taking prasadam, and just keep endeavoring, even though we have so many shortcomings. Oh, but I have so many desires. I'm not off the bodily platform. Yeah. We're still dirty. We're in the shower, we're working on it. Make sure the water doesn't get cut off. Just keep the water flowing and scrubbing, because we have to keep working at it. It's like if you prematurely give up the doctor's advice, stop taking your medicine, what happens? Relapse. Again, the infection comes back. Oh, I thought it was gone. Yes, it'll be gone, but you've got to follow through the process. Don't give up too early here. Don't ever give up. Keep going. So this is some ideas, very good part of, it's all great, but especially the contents of the Bhagavad-Gita show. Prabhupada emphasizing through the words of Krishna about the eternality of the soul. It can't be cut to pieces, can't be dried up. Nobody can mess around with the soul because it's part of Krishna. It's existed in the past, it's existing now. We've existed in the past, we exist now, we continue to exist in the future. So don't waste this time. This is the best basic message. The human life is very rare, and very quickly it's finished. At any moment, isn't it like they say, a drop of water on a lotus leaf, tottering, that any time it slip off and it's gone. So before our next death, we should focus our mind and focus all our energy for helping to spread the Sankirtan mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in gratitude of the gift that Srila Prabhupada has given all of us, which is eternal life. It's already there, but how we can uncover and make it blaze again and go back home, back to the spiritual world. Biloko Vrindavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, comments? Have a few minutes, one or two. Everyone's convinced we should surrender? So let's chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Next time you're in front of the deities, Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyamasundar, Lita Vishaka Devi, Gaura-Nitai, my dear Lord, somehow I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of material suffering and engage me as one of your eternal servants. So we're all looking for that service. And service is available. People say, what should I do? If you have nothing to do, you take a nice little bucket and a cloth and you just clean everything everywhere. Why not? Like cleaning your heart, isn't it? What did Lord Chaitanya do? They cleaned Gundicha temple so nicely, very expertly. And if so happens that Guru notices, oh, he's got a good service attitude, then other services will come automatically. But if you're hiding and there's no service available, but you're always on time for prasad.
I have a question.
Oh, thank you.
How do you, you mentioned a few times about the spark, keeping that spark
Yeah.
going. So what do we do to keep that spark, always keep it, that enthusiasm burning?
Yeah. Well, I find that when you're reading, especially whatever you're reading, I like reading it out loud, and just really try to hear let Krishna talk to us, because the mind, when we're reading something, practically we're not even registering what we're reading, because the mind's already thinking of, well, after this I'm going to make myself a nice sandwich, or I'm going to go here and do this or do that. So the important thing is that we should apply the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu with more enthusiasm. You know, that if you're sitting in the kirtan, really try to hear the mantra and pray to the Lord, just to be and feel it, because we're all so busy. Like when Prabhupada give the example, you go to talk to a very important man about Krishna consciousness. Here, take a donation. I'm just too busy. Like go away. Busy with what? So our mind is always hankering and lamenting, always running around. So I think we need to just bring it back and be more focused to hear the Bhagavatam and hear the Gita. It says by repetition, by constant repetition, it'll change our whole mood and our whole idea. But sometimes it takes time. Some people are faster than others, but
I find that when I'm not focusing when I'm chanting, or I'm not focusing when I'm reading, that's when my taste diminishes. So
yeah. But we all experience it. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes you may be super fired up, super enthusiastic, and suddenly you think, this process, these horns, these people, these devotees, get away from it all. But then, be careful against offenses. Always try to be appreciative with gratitude to our Father, Srila Prabhupada, our Master, who's given us this opportunity. So, you're fanning, and a little fanning, it starts increasing more and more. It'll blaze. It'll catch. The blaze will be there. Yes, sir.
Prabhu, can you say some instances from the Bhagavatam, like Puranjana and Yayati? Some just because Puranjan, Yayati, or anywhere else, something more about the bodily concept of life and their attraction towards the opposite gender.
Well, there are many histories. Narada Muni is enlightening so many kings and so many personalities. Even like in the 6th canto, Chitraketu, he had many queens. He was royal opulence. All the money, all the goodies that money can buy. He had everything, but he had no child, and he really wanted a child. So Angira Rishi gave him a benediction. Harsha Shoka, he'll give you pleasure, but he'll also bring distress to you. So the whole kingdom was so happy a child came, but the other queens were very jealous. Why this queen gave birth and we couldn't give birth? So they poisoned the little baby. So everyone was devastated. First of all, they were all hankering for a child. They have a child. Oh, my family, beautiful child. But now the child is dead. So the queen is completely unraveled, and the king is just, can't even walk. He's just falling down. So Angira Rishi and Narada Muni brought the child back to life and said, why you have left? You're causing so much hardship for your family, your mother and father. Which mother and father are these? I've had so many mothers and fathers. So whenever a child speaks philosophy, people are interested to hear that philosophy. But all the different exchanges between the great sages and all the, especially in this particular attachment that Chitraketu had for his son, for his queen, for his kingdom, was completely destroyed by the philosophy of a small child. So there are many examples. You're right. Even Hiranyakashipu was trying to pacify, when Hiranyaksha was killed, was trying to pacify all the queens of Hiranyaksha, and gave some a story of a small child who was Yamaraj, and so many things are there. I could tell so many, but the time is limited, I'm sorry. But there are beautiful stories. I find that the best analogies are right there in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, of course, Bhagavad-Gita is wonderful, but we all like hearing stories, kingdoms, and intrigue, and beautiful people, but then also the disappointments of those who are ambitious to enjoy this world, and then the revelation from the great sages and sadhus about the ultimate glory of spiritual life, you know.
I see your life is full of compassion. So how do we develop compassion?
Yes, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana, that we have all the godly qualities of the demigods, which are mercy, compassion, and everything is there. It's not that you have to get Krishna consciousness outside. The more and more that we can fan that spark by hearing and chanting and serving sincerely, the more we'll have the realization that Krishna is the Father of everyone. These are all my brothers and sisters, and they're suffering. I want to help them. So it'll come. It comes on its own, because we have all these qualities. Just keep chanting the holy name, doing your service nicely, and Krishna will give you that realization. He says, Sarvasya chahang hridisana vishto matat smriti jnana pohanam cha. He's giving knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. You want to forget him and forget everybody else? No problem. But if you want to remember Krishna, and you want to understand he's the Father of everyone, Krishna will give you that realization by your sincere desire, by following the process. Okay? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.